everybody, Justin here. We are in Las Vegas, Nevada for ATD TK 2017. We're interviewing people from McGraw-Hill, Udemy, Degreed, all sorts of really exciting companies doing really exciting things. So please like and share the videos and pictures that come out of this. And I'm going to go and gamble my life away. Peace! So Rich, it's good to have you here, and
Thanks,
we're here at the Association of Talent Development's Technology Conference. So tell us a little bit about this. It's all about really technology in the classroom, correct?
Yeah, for the most part. This ATD does a great job of bringing together learning professionals across a wide spectrum of learning solutions, and technology. Learning technology is certainly something that's very critical and very relevant right now in the learning space.
Tons of investment going into into education.
That's exactly right. The e-learning industry itself, I think, I read an article recently, is projected to be in the $200+ billion range for the coming years.
Right.
So that's globally, but the society, the association here, ATD, does a great job of making sure that they're providing opportunities for people to come together and collaborate and learn, share.
So tell us a little bit about what you do.
Sure. So I'm with eLearning Brothers. I'm one of the co-founders of the custom team. So the brothers, the two brothers, started the business back in '09. So it's been around. This is our 8th year in business, and we specialize in helping folks create online learning twice as fast, and typically we can help them make it twice as effective using templates for the most part. The custom team is another division of the company that started about 4 years ago. So we help organizations with custom needs.
Right. One thing I see in the industry quite a bit is, especially when we're talking about universities. Let's take adjunct professors, for instance. Not making a ton of money as an adjunct professor, but they have the ability, they have this vast wealth of knowledge to go out and really make a good living with that vast wealth of knowledge. One problem that they have is they just don't know how to take that knowledge and put it online.
Sure.
And this is something that eLearning Brothers helps out.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Yeah, just a few months ago, I was down on the Duke University campus working with a professor there, doing exactly what you described.
Right.
It wasn't adjunct, but incredible wealth of knowledge, trying to get his message into that learning technology space. And it's interesting when you talk about universities, because the learning experience for the student is a very blended kind of an experience.
Sure.
And today's universities are very forward-thinking with social engagement. They're doing a lot of synchronous sort of online webinar, virtual type experiences. MOOCs are a part of what we've seen professors doing, get those out there for the community. And then they want their message kind of packaged up and put into maybe a 30-minute online learning piece, or there's just any number of ways to go with it. But we're able to help folks target that a little bit.
So this is going to go on, this video is actually for our Global Talent Series.
Okay.
And so this is all about how learning really connects to work in general. So let's get outside of the learning space a little bit, because I'm a sales guy, and I always say that education is the #1 marketing tool that salespeople can use. Is this something that you see happening in marketing, where maybe not necessarily a marketing agency, but someone who is wanting to brand their company a certain way, or using education as a tool to market? Is that something that's happening?
It's a great question. When you say using education as a tool to market, are you saying companies are recognizing the value of educating their target audience?
Yes.
About their product,
right,
about their service?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, a lot of our custom clients are exactly that. They're coming to us to help them craft that message and get it out into get it out on the web, get it in front of the eyeballs of their target audience, target consumers. So, and a lot of times that's on the iPhone, it's on the iPad,
right,
depending on the modality or the venue that they're trying to get to. There's a lot of complexity there that if you don't navigate it right, you end up with a solution that doesn't work, or people can't access it, or it's not what you expected. So sometimes that's tough.
So here's an interesting question for you. Like I said at the beginning of the video, we're at this technology conference, and we got to see a ton of really cool companies doing awesome stuff.
Yeah.
There's companies using virtual reality in the classroom, companies using AI in the classroom. What does the future classroom look like in, let's just say, 10, 15 years?
Wow. That's a great question, man.
It's transforming.
It is. But I will say this. So I've been in the industry, so here we are, 2017. I've been in the industry, I got into it in 93, right? So I was working with a big company and learning, kind of cutting my teeth on corporate learning, workplace learning and performance. I got into instructional design and managing teams of trainers and doing nationwide type of rollouts. And that was back in the 90s. So as the century turned and e-learning became more prevalent and the tools became easier to access and easier to use, we've been seeing exactly what you're talking about for, I think, 20 years. When I say we've been seeing it, we've been seeing this notion that learning is going to transform. Everything's going to be in the virtual space. It's going to be amazing. And so we haven't gotten there yet. And so we've been talking about it for 20 years. So it's easy to sit here and say, wow, by the time we hit 2037, it's going to be transformed.
Right.
But I think there's a couple things that will change from now to then. For now, what's happened now is we're now getting to the point where those technologies are more affordable. So we truly can move things into the virtual learning space. So a mechanic who has to be trained on how to fix a truck can now literally put on the goggles, look at Oculus Rift. You know, the hand controllers for Oculus Rift were released about 4 weeks ago, maybe 4 to 6 weeks ago. So they barely came out. Have you experienced it yet?
I have not, no.
You have to touch it, Justin, because you're literally looking at your hands in this virtual world. Like we're sitting right here, and now I'm looking at a truck engine in front of me, and I'm going to use these hand controllers to literally reach into the engine. I'm going to pick out something. I'm going to evaluate it. I have to orient it just right inside the engine. I have to choose, which bolts are going to go on there. I'm doing all that virtually. So then by the time I actually go into the real production environment, now I've practiced it and I've refined it.
You've done it on the real thing.
Yeah, you've done it in a real space and using technologies like Unity 3D and and other engines and programming tools. You can literally simulate that environment. So that's here now, and it's finally affordable. When I say affordable, I mean it's not super cheap. You can't get it done for a few $100, but it's no longer in the hundreds of thousands to make that happen.
Right.
So I think what we will see in the next 10 to 20 years is a lot more of that. Facebook's betting on it. Facebook's betting that all social learning and engagement will happen in virtual reality. That's why they bought Oculus Rift for over $2 billion several years ago.
Right.
So they're betting that that's going to be the future. And I think learning can certainly go that direction, but I think we have to be responsible about it. So we're working on a big project now. So you got me right on something that I'm really passionate about, because I've been a big Star Trek fan my whole life.
Okay.
And if you've ever seen the holodeck, you go into the holodeck, which is this simulated environment. You can kind of program whatever you want in there. Man, there's the learning that can take place in there is unreal. But what I was going to say was, we have to be responsible about it. We have a client now, a healthcare client, who is excited about what we can do in the virtual reality space. And they've identified a specific procedure that we're working on. I was working on the proposal this morning to get this thing in and going. And so I think we'll start on it in the next month. And by the time we hit May, we'll have this thing done. But so here's our client, right? Here's this guy who's a global training manager in this global healthcare company. He wants to introduce this virtual reality piece. But we have to be, as learning professionals, we have to help kind of guide that to say, why would you go to the expense to do VR when the procedure is working just fine as it is now?
Right.
You're training it sort of kind of in this live environment now. There are some real reasons why you might explore going with VR. And it might be to train more people more quickly. If it's a very expensive procedure that's very pricey and costly to train people on, and you can do it much cheaper in that VR space, which is the case with
proving that ROI, which is what ATD talks about all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we have to be, it's cool to do it, but we have to be careful to make sure we're doing it right and we're making it meaningful and relevant for the learners. And we have to be able to track it as well.
Right. So earlier you talked about universities using MOOCs.
Yeah.
You guys are helping out a lot of universities in that space. Obviously, you've read the headlines in the past, since 2012 about MOOCs. What do you see in the future of MOOCs? Do you see it as a dying sort of a fad, or do you see it sticking around for a while?
Well, you're really talking about informal learning that's kind of been formalized a little bit, right? So, I think about iTunes University, right? So when was that launched? You remember when that was launched?
I have no idea.
Like 10 years ago. I don't know,
Right.
maybe. Let's say between 5 and 10 years ago.
Okay.
I remember when that launched, I thought, man, this is going to revolutionize everything. Because iTunes is already so worldwide and, you know.
2012, the year of the MOOC.
Yeah.
And
So how long ago was this? 5 years ago right there.
Right.
So, you know, I thought everybody's going to put all their content up into iTunes. And you can do anything. I could train somebody on, you know, whatever. You know, maybe I like to cook. I could put up a little cooking MOOC and get that online, and you know, it's gonna, or you know, some sort of course that could land there. Well, so 5, 10 years later, where iTunes University has sort of settled is, I think, more in the academic space. So you'll see folks putting stuff up there that is, you know, more aligned for an actual course of study, as opposed to just you know, an open, online, collaborative kind of an experience, which is what MOOCs are trying to become. So I think it's happening now, but it's not called MOOCs. I mean, if you have to learn something right now, so you're a young guy, and if you're at home and you're about to do some kind of procedure, or maybe you got a new blender and get this blender going and it's real complicated, you can't quite figure it out. What are you probably going to do? You're probably going to go to YouTube. You're going to type in Ninja Blender. How do I? Boom. And you're going to come up with 5 different videos. That's going to be about 1 minute to 2 minutes long. You're going to find where you're going to watch it. You're going to learn exactly what you need to do. And I think that's the direction. That kind of bite-sized informal learning.
micro-learning.
I think a lot of that is going to be what we're going to see a lot more of in the future.
Cool.
And we're seeing it now, but we're going to see a lot more of it. But MOOCs will have their place, I think. I call it. It's an informal, formal experience. It's more formalized than just informal. There's somebody creating a quick video and putting it up online, but they have their place. We haven't seen a lot of requests to help organizations do it or build it. I think it's because a lot of folks are just finding their own tools to make it work.
Sure. Last question for you. It's 2017 finally. What is a mistake that learning professionals are making? What's one thing they could do differently in 2017? Using technologies available to them.
What is one mistake they're making? I will say this, all right? It's a good question. My brain goes a million different directions on it, but I'll say this. I think what we see a lot of in our little custom shop over here at eLearning Brothers, and we're doing a lot of work, helping a lot of clients with taking their e-learning, their online training, which maybe isn't as great as it could be, and making it much more awesome. That's our favorite thing to do. And what we notice is there's a lot of training out there that's just not inspiring. It's not interesting, and it's not engaging. So I guess the challenge I would give to learning professionals to up their game in 2017 and beyond is it's in the design. It's in the instructional design. Be present in your instructional design. You know, be careful about understanding what the learner needs, and then designing solutions that are immersive, that are engaging, that are interesting. I think it can be done in almost every occasion. If it's boring compliance training, is there a scenario you can build that would be representative of an actual real life scenario that learner is going to get into in any given day? Catch their attention with that and say, okay, let's solve that problem now in a way that helps you learn about the compliance that's important, or the legal, the policy, procedure, or whatever. So often, and it's amazing, Justin, here we are, like you said, 2017. E-learning's really been around since '99. I remember when I was managing my little team back in the day, we were doing new hire training for a nationwide audience. And I was so excited to put my new hire manual online. That thing was that thick. We're going to put it online. And I think I sent my guy home, my most technology advanced guy, and he used Microsoft Front Page to craft all of these pages, and he put a next and back button on them. And we thought, amazing, we're online. And it was just a page turner, you know, and people hated it. And you know, we've learned a lot since then. You'd be shocked at how much of that we're still seeing. Just click next, and then take a quiz. It's interesting. And I think it's because, I don't think people get lazy. I've been there, man. I've been an instructional designer inside of a Fortune 50 company, and you've got 10 projects on your plate, and your manager's breathing down your neck, and the customers are needing it yesterday, and the legal team's telling you got to get it done. And so we don't have enough time. I understand that, but I guess that's the challenge I would throw out there is so many talented instructional designers be intentional about it, and find the inspiration to make it more than just, a page turner, because there's so much that can be done.
Right.
Completely
agree. Well, Rich, I appreciate you. I appreciate the time that you gave, and
Thanks, Justin.
and hope you enjoy Las Vegas.
All right.
Don't
thank
lose
you.
all your money.
All right.